Okay, so acting. Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. I easily enjoyed him being Peter / Spidey. He was funny, he was clever, the action scenes were just awesome. I mean, I think when it came to action, he definitely does the best in being Spider-Man. I mean, when it comes to just showing how he's fast, how he uses his web shooters, and especially his strength. You have to enjoy the scenes where he begins to discover his strength. They are awesome. Now, as Peter Parker, he did a pretty good job in just acting like a normal teenager through and through-ish. I mean, Tobey Maguire may have done a pretty swell job in kind of giving us a generalized basis of who Peter Parker / Spider-Man is, but Garfield did a wonderful job in just, again, taking it to the next level. Now, Emma Stone being Gwen Stacy. Oh man, where do I begin? It's kind of strange looking back at the day I found out that she was going to be Gwen Stacy, because after I found out, I started going through a lot of her other movies so I could become more familiar in time for the movie. I've done the same with Andrew Garfield, but this ended up being a bigger deal. Because when I started doing that with Easy A, well, basically I ended up seeing like 7 or 8 times before I finally returned it to the library. Because from there on out, I ended up really wanting to see a lot more of her, because she has turned out to be a very, very awesome actress. Easily become one of my favorites, like #1 for sure. Because she's given such excellent, unique characters that I just enjoy, from with Zombieland, The Help. Heck, I have Crazy Stupid Love on Blu-ray. I mean, heck, it practically became so big that I almost entirely forgot that this was all over the matter of her being Gwen Stacy for this film. So, yeah. And when it came to being Gwen Stacy, I was far, and I mean far, from being disappointed. She was funny and smart as heck. I mean, and brave at some points. I mean, this was no replacement for MJ. Well, I mean, she is, but as far as being a damsel in distress, she was the farthest thing from it. She was willing to defend herself. She's even helped Spider-Man at some points. It was awesome. And the romance, I loved it. I loved it. There were a couple of issues here and there, but it's I love it. She's pretty much my #1 actress, and she did a darn good job keeping it that way with this film. Now, Martin Sheen and Sally Field being Uncle Ben and Aunt May, they were the more realistic versions of those characters. I mean, I do really like Uncle Ben from the original series, because he especially worked as being a role model for Peter, with, you know, great power comes great responsibility and everything. But Uncle Ben was much more realistic in this film. How he was more of a parent kind of guy. Aunt May was pretty realistic too, but I wouldn't exactly accept her yet as actually being Aunt May. I guess the reason why is that Aunt May is, you know, being known for being, you know, super sweet, super innocent, and yet super, super fragile. And they get to kind of bits and pieces of how she's that good of a person, and even how she's strong-spirited. Not too much, but there were 1 or 2 things, like what she would say, that led me to hope that there would be much, much, much more to that in the sequel to this film. And also, warning, spoilers, so if you do not want to know about this, pretty much same deal as the plot and the other set of spoilers. I thought it was beyond messed up to watch Uncle Ben die. I mean, sure, there are flashbacks where we actually watch it, but in terms of actually seeing it, we actually see the moment when Uncle Ben gets shot. That is messed up. I mean, there is not a single Spider-Man thing, to my knowledge, where they actually have a part in a comic or a TV series or anything like that outside of a flashback where we actually see Uncle Ben die in the hands of that burglar. That is just so messed up. I mean, the whole time, my mom and I were just like, when we saw this film, because it was a nice change, but holy crap, was that hard to believe that they actually had that as a scene in this film. It was just crazy. Now, Dr. Connors, aka the Lizard, well, aside from my issue with the design, I thought he was a decent character, but knowing what side he was on, Dr. Connors specifically, I wasn't really sure of. I mean, there wasn't exactly a kind of Jekyll and Hyde kind of development, you know, one side being totally good, one side being totally bad, which in a way was interesting. I mean, he talks about kind of how he's kind of going along with being what he is after transforming into the Lizard, but then he has his good side at some points that, on a whole, before and after he turned into the Lizard, it gets kind of it gets confusing all around as to whether or not to declare Dr. Connors, when he's not the Lizard, actually being officially a good guy. Now, the music I actually end up really enjoying. I mean, I for one would actually recommend that you stay for the credits just to hear the music, because it gives a much nicer action adventure kind of score than the original series. I mean, the score for the original series was nice, but it, you know, had more of the corny superhero kind of feeling that you get from stuff like Superman or something like that, if you will. So with the score with this, it was a very enjoyable replacement. It had nice because yes, it has a more nice, kind of darker, kind of more suspenseful-ish kind of take on the action adventure setting that is the superhero Spider-Man. So I enjoyed that an awful lot, and I easily accept it as a replacement to what the music used to be for Spider-Man. Now, the editing I enjoy, but there were a couple of moments where things were either too fast or too slow, and there were a couple of stuff where we kind of had too many blackouts. I mean, most of them were only for a split second. You know, those, you know, the kind of clip, blackout, clip, blackout, clip, blackouts. That's like super, super, super quick kind of set of editing that you'll see that you see in a lot of trailers. I think that's the other way to put it. It's kind of set up more for like trailers kind of editing, and I didn't agree to the idea of that actually happening in the movie. I thought the little blackout bits with that kind of editing were unnecessary. I think they would have done fine without it. And that's my review for Amazing Spider-Man. It does have plenty of issues. Some of them I really, really do not like. But on a whole, it's a wonderful, wonderful new take on Spider-Man that is easily enjoyable for a lot of people to enjoy, and it should be well remembered for years to come for plenty, and I mean plenty, of Spider-Man fans like me to enjoy for hopefully just a long, long, long time. Now, we still have a long way to go. There's still, you know, a little bit of mystery that still needs to be solved, and you know, one other stuff here and there that we are left hanging with this movie that are hopefully filled with the next movie. But at the end of the day, I'm left wondering who knows what this has started to be for everyone's take, if you will, of Spider-Man. So altogether, I give this movie an 85% out of 100. So if you want to see more reviews, feel free to check them out on my channel. But if you want to see more reviews than that, log on to my blog at hacksreviews.blogspot.com, where I have almost 300 reviews written for you to read and enjoy. Until then, everyone, I am H.A.K, and if you want to know what that stands for and what in the world it has to do with my intro, feel free to ask me.